All right. Welcome everyone to another week of Blueprint for Peak Performance. Ask Me Anything. I'm Brandi Smith. I'm the founder of Perfect 10 Physical Therapy and Performance Training, as well as Perfect 10 PT Academy, online courses for parents, coaches, and athletes. I'm excited today. We are going to finish the 6 sensory motor building blocks today. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm a two-time former collegiate gymnast. I'm a physical therapist and performance coach. I work with recreational athletes all the way up to Olympic and elite level athletes, collegiate athletes as well. And one of my favorite passions and loves is working with little guys, so preschool kids. And we have a preschool program called Born to Move. And we have various curriculums from babies starting at 3 months all the way up to 5 years old. And so what we're going to talk about today is something that can be used with everyone, no matter what age you are. And we'll show you various ages doing the things today. And we'll talk a little bit about our program, the Born to Move program as well. Okay, that's funny. Hold on one second. I have to get us some Canva stuff. There we go. Okay. And oh my goodness. Come on, Zoom. Exit. Okay. Well, fine. There we go. There we go. All right. Okay, so the 6 sensory motor building blocks for building better learners is what we are talking about today, and we are on the last three. Let me do a quick show of the building blocks before we get all the way into it. Hold on, there they are. So this is the 6 sensory motor building blocks. Our entire Born to Move program is built on it. I train athletes all the way from preschoolers all the way up to Olympic level athletes using the 6 sensory motor building blocks along with other tools. But the building blocks are the foundations of how we can work with people. And so we've got proprioception, vestibular, and tactile touch, and they are sequential when we're talking about early childhood. And they build off of each other. And so it's important to recognize that if we have a weakness in one of these building blocks, we need to back up, just like you do progressions with athletes. We want to back up onto the previous building block. So proprioception is our orientation, vestibular is our balance system, and tactile is where we develop our bonding, our security in bonding with ourself, bonding with the earth and the environment around us, and as well as bonding with others. So it's a secure attachment is built through tactile touch. Kinesthesia, so these three are the foundation. And then these three building blocks actually make up kinesthesia. You have to have proprioception, vestibular, and tactile touch to create kinesthesia, which is the ability to move individual body parts so that we can coordinate the whole. And so coordination, the ability of knowing ourselves, the map of me, like what I have, my body image and my map of me is built by kinesthesia. And kinesthesia is needed in order to build motor patterns, which are neurodevelopmental patterns that we naturally go through to help create the neural connections we need to be successful in all areas of our life. And so it's at this level that we get our body-mind connection and we build self-confidence. You need all five of these building blocks in order to have motor planning. Motor planning is the ability to sequence movements together, which is basically gymnastics, right? So obstacle courses, making a sequence of movements that creates a skill, routines, everything like that is just a more complex motor planning. And motor planning is where we build our problem-solving skills. So if someone has a hard time figuring out a problem or a solution to something, or they get stuck, it may be that they need to revisit their motor planning building block, which means that they might need to revisit some of the building blocks before that. Motor planning actually builds our school readiness, which is our executive function. So our ability to have attention to task, memory, our ability for impulse control, the ability to sit still, and also know when to move. So stop and go. That's the impulse control piece as well. That is all motor planning. And here's the thing is that in general, sport, gymnastics, it's all motor planning. And back in the day, in the 70s and 80s, children developed very differently. They had a lot more opportunities to experience movement and senses versus nowadays with devices, containers, and the way that the world has kind of shifted. Children are coming into our gyms having not had experiences in exploring their environment, in understanding their body, in developing a secure attachment. Um, and so because they lack, maybe they had a little bit of experience, but they skimped on it, or maybe they skipped steps all along. They skipped some things and they didn't build a building block at all. Um, because these are kind of weak, they're coming into the gym and I have coaches all the time say, you know, coaching an athlete today is not the same as coaching an athlete 10 years ago. And this is really the reason why, because they're not getting this opportunity. And so we in the gymnastics world have a unique opportunity to fill in the gap and to create and revisit these building blocks, because the brain is so amazing. We talked about the brain has neuroplasticity, and we can kind of rebuild these building blocks um, and help fertilize and create a more integrated athlete so that we're sensory integrated, emotionally regulated, and we have better motor coordination and control. We increase our self-confidence and our own body image and map of me just by using neural pruning. So we can create an environment where we, you know, promote these building blocks. So I'm gonna skim forward to kinesthesia. There we go. All right. So we're going to start with kinesthesia because we already covered the other three. So kinesthesia is our body image. It's the ability to hold your physical body within your mind's eye, right? And this is the ability to also be able to move different body parts individually. And the more articulate you are, so if I can move like this finger, right? I can move this finger separately, and then I can move this finger separately, then it's going to be easier to move the body as a whole. So the more articulate you are with each body part individually, you can have a more refined whole body movement. And so refining kinesthesia helps develop better communication between the body and the brain. It improves impulse control, and it also helps with self-regulation. This makes a gymnast an excellent gymnast, right? So having kinesthesia is what actually makes a gymnast. The ability to move individual body parts helps create the ability to be so accurate and refined to become a really good gymnast. It's stimulated again by isolating body parts. So I want to show you, so any questions about that or any thoughts about that, you guys? What I'll do is I'm going to show you guys a little activity we do, and you guys can kind of talk to me and tell me about how you guys might, you know, use this in the gym. So kinesthesia, oh, I'm also realizing I didn't pin myself. Let me pin myself really quick. Sorry, guys. All right, so kinesthesia, one of the ways that we do this, it's really fun, is the body part dance. Other ways you can do this: head, knees, shoulders, head, knees, ankles, head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Like you can play any of kind of those songs. We sometimes play musical instruments and we tap our body parts with instruments. You also can just, with older kids, you know, play copycat, or you can play Simon Says. Those are other ways of like moving certain body parts. I like the body part dance, and with this athlete, I let her pick her body parts, and she really enjoyed that. And she also got to pick her music. So I gave her some autonomy. She picked her music. It was some kind of her favorite song. And then she could go through the body parts as she went. So I just want to kind of show you how her body part dance went.
There you go. Good job. Good. Touch your nose.
So now she's moving her nose.
Good.
Now she's moving her mouth. And that's her bottom.
Now what? Yeah. Wiggle the tummy. Good job. I like your wiggle tummy. What else?
That's my hips, she said, wiggling her hips. Her head.
Yeah. Good.
My arms.
Good. Wait, that's not your feet moving. You got to move the feet separate. Yes.
There you go. So she had trouble moving
There
her
you
feet
go.
separate from her knees.
Yep, that's your knees.
Bouncing her knees. Her back. She's trying to do her back. Shoulders. Her teeth.
Just wait, I can't see your teeth. You got to back up. There's your teeth. I see it.
She
Okay.
decided to move her teeth.
What about your elbows and your wrists? Yeah. Good job.
So it took her a second to figure it out. You can see she's struggling moving her wrists separately. Then that's her whole body. That's her whole body, she said. So, what was interesting is that she actually struggled moving her wrists separately from her elbows. And she ended up having a wrist injury shortly thereafter. I wasn't seeing her for that. I was seeing her for something else. And it's interesting because she doesn't have, so you can see that there's a couple times where, especially towards the extremities, with her wrist and her ankles, so the further away from her body, her torso she went, the harder it was for her brain to map moving the wrist separate from the elbow or moving the ankle separate from the knee. And so practicing this body part dance will help her develop and refine that map of the body parts. And so if you go back to, I think we talked about it early on in our very first session, come back to this really quick. There's a map inside our brain of every single body part. And each body part has a certain amount of space, right? The hands actually has a large amount of space, which is why this is how we would look if it all developed this way. If we actually grew based on the amount of space our body parts take up in our brain, this is what we would look like. And what you can see though, and this is the motor side, so how much movement we have, and this is the sensory side. And so you'll see that the face and the hands have a lot more space, but she struggled with differentiating between her hand and her elbow. And then you can see that the feet don't have near as much space. And so she struggled differentiating between her knee and her foot. And so by doing these kind of activities, you actually can increase the activity in that part of the brain so that you can train the brain to be able to control that body part better. And the better control you get, the more coordinated you become, the better your map, your internal map of where your body parts are in space, where they are in relation to each other, how much force is needed to move them. That map will get very refined. Now, an important piece to this is that we know that if you have a brace or you have a cast or something is immobilized for a period, this map of that body part becomes fuzzy. So instead of like seeing 5 fingers and arches in my hand and a wrist that move separately, I will see like a mitten in my brain. And it's like a fuzzy map of me. And so it's important that if someone has also even the presence of pain can make a map fuzzy. There's a lot of other things that also can affect the map, but those are some of the main common ones. So when you have pain or you have the presence of having a brace or immobilization, it's important to take whenever possible. Now, if someone's casted because something's fractured, then you need to do it after the fracture is done, right? But when the doctor says if they're in a cast or boot and they say, yeah, they can wiggle their toes, they should sit and look at their toes and try to wiggle their toes, because that's going to at least help keep part of this map going. But then there'll be a part of the body part that's just missing. So we're actually going to do an activity, and I'm going to ask you guys to unmute once we do it. Let me make sure this is tactile. We're almost there. I got to find myself back where we were. So I want to do a little activity where you actually just think about your body part, right? So I want you to close your eyes for a second and just visualize your non-dominant foot. And I want you to see what you can see. Can you see your big toe? Can you see your second toe? Can you see your third toe? Your fourth toe? Your fifth? Can you see the outside of your foot? Can you see the around the heel? Can you see the back of the heel? Can you see the inside of the heel? Can you see the inside of your arch? Can you see your whole foot? Is your foot connected to the ankle? Sometimes people aren't. Sometimes it's just the foot. Sometimes it's just the ankle. Maybe they can't see their foot at all. Can you see it coming all the way up to the calf and the knee? And then I'd love for you guys to unmute and tell me if it was really clear, like was it crisp and clear and refined, you could see every detail? Or was there areas in your foot that were fuzzy, that was kind of like it was there, but it just wasn't super clear? It's maybe a little blurry. Go ahead and unmute and just share your experience, because there's a lot of times that this is blurry or there's a missing body part. Last time I did this with someone, they were like, I can see down to my ankle, but I can't see my foot. Or another one lost their heel. They couldn't see their heel, but they could see their toes. So go ahead and unmute, you guys, whichever one wants to start and just kind of share your experience. Could you see your whole body part? Was it clear? Was it fuzzy?
I can, but
You,
I practice.
yeah, you practice though. You practice that. Before you practice though, Carla, what did it used to be like? Do you remember? Because you've practiced this skill.
Um, I mean, I was missing some areas,
Yeah, you were missing areas. Do you remember what areas were hard to see or find?
like the toe next to the pinky, like in between the big toe and my pinky.
The toe.
Those toes.
Oh, okay. The toe. Yeah. So the fourth toe, right? The fourth toe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. That is really, really common. Um, no worries, Latifa. Yeah. So that fourth toe. So the fourth and fifth toes is where people usually struggle. And so then Carla, let's talk about, you've been practicing though, because now you have a pretty clear picture. Yes.
I'm sorry, say it again.
I said, now you have a pretty clear picture, right? Like of your whole foot, because before you couldn't see that fourth toe, and now you can. Um,
Yeah, I practice moving my toes independently and like doing little toe exercises and things. So
yeah, so you've been practicing moving your toes independently, right? Another exercise you can do is actually just trace. So I do this with little ones, right? Where they can do either with a crayon or just with their finger, but they're not looking at their finger, they're looking at where their finger's pointing. So let's just say this is my hand and I couldn't see maybe my fourth and fifth fingers, there's little fuzzy. So I would trace and I'm looking at my hand, following with my eyes as I go around, and I trace the entire body part all the way around, and I want to make sure I see all of it. And I do that 3 times with me pointing, and then I do it 3 times with just my eyes, following the body part. And I'm looking at all the details, my fingernails, the creases in my hand, all of it. And then after I do that, I can start to move. Can I move one digit separate from the other? Can I circle it one way or another? Can I move another one, and see if these want to go together? Those are the grip. So you'll see a lot of kids, well, because they wear grips and they've been in gymnastics for a while, they'll do handstands with these 2 fingers together. So it's a matter of teaching them to not. Like, because what's happened is in their map of me, and also, if you have people do dance hands this way instead of like there's lots of different dance hands, but this is like a common one, right? You'll see that this and the grips will carry over to other things. right? There's actually a picture, I think I have it right here, of me. Let me see if I can get it off the wall. Oh, come on. How do I get it off the wall? There we go. Okay. So there's a picture of me in college, and I had broken my arm and had worn a tiger paw for several years. And then I got out of the tiger paw. Can you guess which hand? Carla Latifa's out for a little bit. Can you guess which hand the tiger paw was on when I had to wear it? So this is my left, and then that's my right. Can you guess, Carla, which hand?
The left.
Yeah, because it looks like, you can see, it looks
It's
like
straighter
it's
and
straight like I have a tiger paw on, right? All my fingers are gripped together. I'm like holding in on this left side like I have a tiger paw on. And this is actually more natural hand placement, right, for me. And so it's really interesting that because I didn't know it and it was never retrained, but I think that picture was my senior year. And so for almost 3 years before, I wore tiger paw, um, and got myself out of it by my senior year. Um, so anyways, that map of having a tiger paw on was still in my brain. And when you stress the system, it would show up like that. So it's important to move things individually so that we can, because that actually is a very rigid wrist. It really was probably not helping me a lot in the air, to be honest. So something we need to kind of train. I want to show you guys a couple other ways that we can train this. So one of them is called ice cream cones. So what you can do, so just give it a try. You can play with it. But one thing you can do is you can curl one finger, then the next finger, the next finger, the next finger, the next finger, and then curl it in and curl the thumb in. So I'm curling everything into a fist, and then I curl the wrist in. And then after I curl the wrist in, open, 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 and open. And then we curl, 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 then we're open. So I want to, before we do this, I'd like everybody to do we're going to do 5 and 5 on each hand. But before you do that, maybe test your shoulder flexibility, touch your toes, just find something that's stiff, whether it's your neck range of motion. Find something that's stiff really quickly. Touch your toes, bend over, see what your shoulders look like. And then let's do 5 on each hand. So you're gonna curl, 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 and then thumb comes in, and I'm curling the wrist in too, like I'm holding an ice cream cone. And then I'm gonna uncurl, pinky, next finger, pointer finger, thumb, and then wrist comes back, right? So curl, 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 and then uncurl, 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 uncurl. Whole entire palm is facing forward. Let's do 5 of those. Just try 5 and then uncurl and open. Try to do them individually as best you can. And then uncurl, uncurl, uncurl. And then now do the other side. So curl, 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 curl. Uncurl, 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 uncurl. Like I'm holding an ice cream cone. And then I'm going to uncurl. Or do 5 of those. That's 2. And then curl. I think that's 5. And then uncurl. All right, now test your shoulder flexibility, test your neck if that was stiff, touch your toes, see if any of the stiffness changed. And then go ahead and unmute and share with us what you experienced. Did you experience any changes, Carla?
It's a little looser.
Yeah, what's a little looser? What was your test?
Oh, I did my neck.
Yeah, okay, so your neck was stiff and it's a
Yeah,
little looser after.
moving it. Yeah.
Right. So what's cool is that we didn't work on your neck, right? All we did was activate the map of you, and if you, especially with the hand, using so much parts of the body, by activating that part of the brain, we're activating your whole brain. And so by getting individual moving body parts, other body parts can move better, right? This is fun stuff. Like you can make a bridge better with this. You can make handstands better with this. It can be big or subtle. It just depends on how much activation they need or how much work their map needs. Another thing you can do is piano keys. They put their hands down onto a block or even on their hands and knees on the floor, and they tap one finger at a time and then tap another finger at a time. And you can also have them tap and lift, tap and lift, tap and lift, tap and lift. You can do the same thing with your toes. I did this with a bunch of coaches at another gym recently, and the toes were really hard for some of them. But after about 5, several of them actually got it. Some of them still didn't, but several of them did get it. And so it just really helps increase their map. You can do the same thing with circle push-ups, elbow circle push-ups, where you do push-ups in a circle. You also can do knee circles as well. So let me just kind of show you guys what I mean. So typically I have them do it on their hands and knees because, believe it or not, these are actually very hard. No one really does a push-up this way, so it's easier on their knees. But what we'll have them do is you can come down, circle around, circle, come back up, and come around. Come down, come up, come around, and circle. And they can get bigger as they go. And then you can go the other way. And this is very challenging because people are not used to doing that type of movement. You can do knee circles where they have to circle their knees. It's another way to individually move things and move it in a different way. Another thing I absolutely love is called a figure 8. Now, the hardest is going to be back here where they can't see it. If they're really not coordinated, I'll have them go in front and do the figure 8 in front and watch their foot circling, and then have them reverse the figure 8. And then when they get the hang of it, I'll have them go behind and do the same thing. And this, you can get all kinds of interesting things because there's the foot is a small part. So if you can work on it, sorry, my balance is a little off today, but the foot is a small space on the brain. So if you can start to gain control of the foot back here, you actually start to gain a lot of control elsewhere. You can also do the same thing with the wrist. And you can change the challenge as far as how they're standing, feet together, feet one in front of the other. That kind of stuff makes it harder. But just doing a figure 8 with the wrist, now we're doing the same figure 8. Now we can do the reverse of it. More challenging is the opposite figure 8. And then reverse it. And these are all very challenging. You can also make a figure 8 where they have to do fingers while they do the figure 8, which is even more complicated. So all of those things just help increase their map of me. And it's just a great way to wake the brain up and get better coordinated movement. All right, so moving on to the next building block, motor patterns. These are our basic neurological patterns. There's an upper pattern, a lower pattern, a body side pattern, so the same side body, and cross body, which is called a contralateral. So cross body, right arm, left leg, left arm, right leg, that kind of thing. The ability to integrate them into complex sequences of movements is a motor pattern, right? Being able to integrate these. So it stimulates, we're using it, or we stimulate it, we start it by doing things on our tummy and on our knees and hands, right? So I'm going to show you a couple examples. We have various level of athletes. We have a 6-year-old level, she's 6? No, she's 6. 6-year-old level 3 or 4, level 4, 6-year-old level 4. And then we have a 10 or 11-year-old level 6. And then we have an elite 23-year-old gymnast. So I just want to show you, there's a couple different patterns we use. We have the wiggles, we have what I call a meerkat. I do a kick off the dirt. We do some army and belly crawling, creeping on our hands and knees. I'm just going to give a couple examples. We don't have time for all of these. So you're going to see though that they have different patterns trying to figure it out. So this is army belly crawling.
Hey. You kind of need a kickstart off the wall, huh? Flex your foot. Yeah, there you go. Push and reach. Push, reach.
So you'll see that he actually tried to do it with his arms first.
Push, reach. Push, reach.
So he's trying to pull himself with his arms.
Push, reach. Push, reach.
So from the very beginning, like right here, when he starts, he pulls himself forward with his arms. He pulls with his arms. And then when he starts, he wants to, so he's supposed to flex his foot up and push with his foot first, then reach, but he's pulling with his arm. And so it'll get better as he goes. Push and then reach. So this should be a push reach pattern.
Push, reach. There you go. Push, reach.
And so he got better by the last couple where he pushed and then reached, right? So you should see it push, then reach.
Underneath you, straight arms, good. You ready? Slide, push, reach. Whoops, yep.
So she had a hard time with the reach.
Foot.
And then she's lifting her leg up, so we're gonna slide.
Good, yes, good. Push, reach. Push, reach.
You can see she lifts up her belly to get off the ground. She's lifting her pelvis. She's getting better though as she goes. Still on that left side. She had a very hard time on the left side.
Reach. Good, okay, hold on. Now you need to do the pushbacks. Okay.
And now this is the pushbacks.
Push
This is another pattern. This is an upper body pattern. This is just upper. So she's just lifting and pushing. Now this pattern, she's got pretty good. She just needs to push a little more. There we go.
Yeah, there you go. Keep going.
Now what's super cool is you don't have to have a perfect pattern to get differences. Everything is working. Everything is good. But they'll refine the pattern the more they practice it. And the more you keep using the same terms.
so
Push,
push,
then
reach.
reach. Pushes, then he reaches. So you can see there's a very different pattern happening.
Now just push, reach. Great, good. And push back. Huh? Up, push back, good. Good.
And we're doing some pushbacks. So the push reach is the body side pattern, right? It's all on one side. And then the pushbacks is an upper extremity pattern, an upper arm pattern. All right, so another one that we do, creeping on hands and knees and rocking on hands and knees. These are developmental patterns, things that babies do early on. We're triggering those patterns. So this is an adult gymnast.
That changes for you. Come back up. I want you to only go as far as you can without rounding in your bottom though. Lift your head a little towards the ceiling. There we go.
And so now she's just
Come
working
back
on
up.
this rocking, which is very important for squatting,
Yeah, you
jumping,
are.
and landing.
So, do you have a water bottle? Or,
I want something to put something on my back.
yeah, I want something on your back that rolls. So either a stick, like a PVC pipe, or a
So I sometimes put a stick or something. I don't think she has in this picture, yeah. But sometimes we put a stick or a water bottle here
yeah, you are. So
that they don't do so much rounding in the back.
towards the ceiling. There we
But
go.
that was better. So
And
we're
back up.
working on the movement pattern for
Yeah, you are. So
for lumbar hip disassociation. This pattern is important for jumping, squatting, landing, all of those things. And then here we're going to work on some crawling, which is actually called creeping. People call this crawling, but it's actually developmentally called creeping on your hands and knees.
yes.
Your babies are dumb, remember?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that. They were just saying that to get him to relax.
They work the least amount. They work the least amount possible.
Yeah, you just gotta like, you
Job
gotta
done.
feel like you don't really know what you're doing.
I think that's why.
So with this one, what's happening is it's a cross body pattern. So let me get from the very beginning. And so they're looking up where they're going. And then this one starts with a reach, pull. So they reach and then they slide the opposite leg. So he reaches, he leans forward a little, reaches with that front arm, slides the opposite leg, reach, slide, reach, pull, reach, pull, reach, pull. And then backwards crawling is not neurodevelopmental, but I'm messing with his brain a little bit just for fun. Like, because babies don't crawl backwards, but we can break a pattern when someone's had an ingrained idea of how they run. So this is the developmental pattern that lays the foundation for running. Now there are developmental patterns before it, like I already showed, that lay the foundation for this pattern. Everything builds on itself. Sequentially, we are built for progressions. So like our brain does this, our body does this, all these things. And so when this pattern directly correlates to the ability to run well with that cross body, cross lateral patterning. So how does this look? So what we do with these stations, some of this can be part of your warm up with motor patterns. We have athletes that will do some of these motor patterns as part of their warm up, in a neural dynamic warm up. They'll do like a few of the upper body patterns, do the meerkats, push forward, army crawl forward, push back, and then they'll move on to another developmental thing. Another way is to have a station at each event where they do one of these neurodevelopmental movements. That's really helpful because actually both are really helpful because when you're warming up, you're getting these brain connections going, which is going to help anything you do afterwards better. And the same thing though for having a station at an event where they maybe do the wiggles or they do the belly crawl. We had some stations like at Vault where there's panel mats stacked up or blocks, depending on how high your athletes are, how tall they are, right? Blocks with a panel mat laid over it, and they have to army crawl or belly crawl from one end to the other. Now you need to make sure that you sequence at least 3 to 4 movements. So you don't want to just do one army crawl where it's right, left. They need to do right, left 3 to 4 times in order for the brain to get the connection it needs. It needs to be a pattern, right? And so at least 3 movements to make it a pattern and make it a station. And then from there, what's good about that is that you're teaching a pattern. So a great one is this crawling one, crawling underneath a tunnel of some sort, crawling underneath a stack of mats. If you create something they have to go under, it's actually better for the brain. Instead of saying, okay, just get on your hands and knees and crawl. You can do hands and knees and crawl. It's effective, but it can be more effective to just make an obstacle that they have to go under. And then you do have to give them a few tips, especially if these are kids who didn't ever crawl or who haven't crawled in a really long time. So you want to give them the reach, pull. But with these guys, one great thing is like having a station on the way back from vaulting, right? So you can improve your run, or maybe you have a station with the crawling at floor, that kind of thing to help with your run. You can do like the belly crawl as well. Belly crawl is also a good one to do. Anything on their belly is a good one to do anywhere where their alarm system gets elevated. So if you're at beam, I have something called the wiggles that we can do, but you can do the belly crawls. You can get on the hands and knees and do the rocking. Those will help kind of also with the emotional regulation centers of the brain. So these are some of the pieces. Oh, we did the wiggles before in the other previous ones where they're laying on their stomach and they're wiggling and they're making a C shape with their spine. Those are really good ones to do when there's a lot of high emotions happening and you want to help center them. And at the same time, you're getting the brain-body connection and the neural development. It's like a great thing. So these are some of the ways we implement it in the gym. Motor planning, the top of the building block, right? So this is the body's ability to break down a task and move smoothly through all the steps. So it's our ability to navigate space successfully. It's a sequence of at least 3 movements. And these 3 movements will actually create a movement sentence, which activates the same part of the brain that creates language. So language production for written sentence structures, right? So a motor sentence is also working on the part of the brain that creates written sentence structures, language production, talking sentences, writing sentences, and even can affect with the reading sentences as well. So we stimulate motor planning by providing a lot of space for exploration. This is where sometimes gymnastics can get too focused on perfection. And if we get so focused on creating a perfect movement and we don't allow for movement exploration, they don't get a chance to motor plan. And then when things go wrong, the athlete can't course correct because they actually have only been following specific guidelines on like a direct highway to perfection, a highway to like, this is the only ideal form. And so anything that goes awry, they're a little off. They went a little early. They went a little late. They haven't had a period of time for movement exploration. So they have no map in their brain of how to save it, of how to recover from it, how to fall, how to create something else out of it. The athletes that I know actually in college were so good at covering up stuff where like they landed just a little off and they did a half twist instead of a 1.5, like they did a full and a half instead of a double, and they just tumbled right out of it, or they added a leap after something because they knew they couldn't stick it. There were a lot of different places where I can remember several of my teammates, because I had a couple teammates I was blessed on college who were multi-sport athletes, one of which actually was a collegiate athlete both in gymnastics and soccer. So she double NCAA'd and competed for 6 years in college, 2 different sports. Yeah, 6 years, 2 different sports. And she actually was a master at this. And what I look back at, and sometimes we go, oh, I don't know what Lucy's going to do. You know, like, is she going to, she was on our floor team and we're like, I don't know, is she going to make that thing or is she going to do something else? And it was kind of hit or miss, but she knew her bonuses, she knew the requirements, and she had enough experience with movement exploration. And when I look back, I realized that because she was a multi-sport athlete, high level, she played tennis, soccer, did track and gymnastics. And then she was high level. Her parents were, her dad was a professional tennis player, but like so that's why she played some tennis. Like she played pretty high level tennis, but never really, I don't know, she didn't compete in it post, high school or whatever, but she competed NCAA gymnastics and soccer. And when I look back, because she had so much movement exploration, I think that's why she was able to recover when weird things would happen. Because some of the weirdest things would happen to her in competitions and even in training. And she would allow herself, instead of going, oh, I didn't make it, and like, oh, it's not perfect, she would just do something else out of it. And I think that movement exploration created a map for her that it made her a great athlete because she recovered some things and didn't get points off and etc. She recovered some falls that could have been really bad because she had a map for that. And so I think part of things that gets lost, especially in training for competitive, not so much in the rec program, but like training for competitive, when we get so specific on like the skill has to look this way and we want only this skill, we're in this like skill progression, we take away the athletes a chance and opportunity to explore movement and explore the skill, explore what it feels like to be too far over, explore what it feels like to be too, not far enough, so that they can find where center is, right? And a lot of times the athlete and the way that we phrase these things is like, oh, that wasn't it, that doesn't count, right? One of the little subtle ways that we do this with our language is in coaching, we say, I want you to make 5 handstands to vertical, right? And it only counts if they get vertical. Instead of saying something like, let's see how many it takes for you to hit 5 handstands vertical, and all of them are good. Like if if 1 and 2 and 3, like first two are over here, the next two over here, I want to praise them for being over here because the first two were over here. Great, you made a difference. That's a change. You're learning, right? And so I understand when we get closer to season, like things need to be hit and stuck, etc. But if we can emphasize that the fall of undershooting or overshooting or not getting it exactly perfect is actually good because they're learning and it's part of their movement exploration, their brain is making a map. Sometimes I make comments to athletes, I go, oh, that was good. And like, but I didn't make it. I go, yeah, but I saw your brain making the corrections. It's adjusting. It's coming. Just wait for it. Don't be hard on yourself. Don't judge it. Just keep going. Like, stay the process. Keep exploring it, right? If we can promote movement exploration, we will have more successful athletes because they'll have a better map. And when things are not perfect, which is most of the time, they will be able to do lots of things out of it because they have better coordination. This also motor planning helps us with movement connections. So connecting things, which helps us smoothly move through a space and obviously in a competitive world of routine. But obstacle courses are a great way to do this, as well as just allowing for movement exploration, giving autonomy. And I'll never forget, I took a dance class as an adult that was a modern dance class. And they said, I want you to get across the floor, touching the floor the whole time creatively. And I was like, as a gymnast, what? You're not going to tell me how to do it or what to do or show me an example? No. And I was like, oh dear, like, I don't know what to do with that, right? Because I've always been told how to move. And so creating spaces in your warm up, in your cool downs, in your conditioning, in some stations where it's like, you know what, I want you to squat and I want you to squat weird. You pick. You pick. So the more variety of movement we can give, what I call, if you have to train, the first step is movement literacy. So the ability to learn to move, which is part of all these sensory motor building blocks. The next step is increasing your movement menu. The larger your movement menu is, I can squat feet forward, feet turned out, feet turned in. I can squat wide, feet forward, turned out, turn in. I can squat asymmetrically. I can squat with one leg on a paddle mat. I can do it with weight. I can do it with a weighted vest. I can do it with resisted bands. I can add a jump to it. I can add multiple joints. I can jump vertical, broad, backwards, forwards, diagonal, sideways. I actually did an article for USICA, United States Elite Coaching Association, on 108 ways to squat. And the thing is that the more your movement menu is, the greater your motor planning block will be. And in order to get that, though, you do have to have the other 5 building blocks. So really important to look at. So here we did some coaches, and we did a bunch of motor planning. And I had them do various ones.
Nice. Kitty cat hands. Oh, we're declining for some reason.
I'm gonna turn this off.
Kitty cat hands.
So let me know you guys can still hear me. I think you can still hear me. I'm just gonna turn the volume off on the audio. Yeah, so what I'm having them do, and this is a gigantic tunnel, which is super cool with this gym, but I'm having them work on their crawling. And then we went in and we had to go over this one was hard for them. They had to go over the blocks, touching as much of the block as they could. And you'll see that some of them did not like going face first down the block. They really struggled with it. And you'll see a lot of them do a lot of pulling instead of pushing. And so I started to promote them to push with their legs, just to do something different. See, she pulls herself across. I'm like, no, I want you to push with your legs, use your legs. And they really struggled with this idea of getting upside down. And you'll see that your athletes will also struggle. Some of these are, she doesn't want to be on her belly. The one in the blue long sleeve shirt, she doesn't want to be on her belly. And I wanted her to get on her belly. I guess I didn't have this video, but this one on the very end, over here, she's all out. She's figuring it out. She's like messily figuring it out, which I absolutely love because that's all it was. How do you plan? How can you get over? What happens if my butt is over my head, and my weight and things are still moving forward? these are great activities to just get. And now the next thing we did was some belly crawling or army crawling. We did it underneath the beams. And so over here on the right, you'll see that the low beam is really low and they have to get like underneath a small space. And so for various body types and body sizes and whatever their abilities were, we had a 8-incher here, so it was shorter, a lot of space here, and then we also had a low beam. And so you'll see them and they should be pushing, but see, she's pulling. Like, no, you should, I mean, they should be push, then reach, and you'll see a lot of pulling. Hold on. And so I had to get them to work on that. We worked more on that, but see, she's pulling across. She pulled across on the low beam. There's one here towards the end that kind of get it. She's starting to pull there underneath the yellow beam, but I think it's the girl in the cap that ends up getting it. So she pushes, then reaches, push, then reach. And she's getting there. She was getting there. And they were all just playing with it. They were exploring, how do I get, and so you can see they do a lot of pulling. And so we had them going all over the beams and stuff, so everybody could get a chance to play with it. Here's another example. We did crawling. Some of these girls could crawl on their hands and knees. Some, it was too low, so they had to get on their bellies. This was a station that they were going to add at their vault. But we're on the floor right now. I think vault was off to the side, but yeah, so they're having to crawl underneath these panel mats and blocks. And then this girl was really tall, so she had to belly crawl. And I told her to open her hands. So she's push, reaching, push, reaching, push, reaching. And it was a challenge, right? And then this one was crawling on her hands and knees. Reach, pull, reach, pull. So just a cool way you can set up the stations. Another thing you can do for motor planning is animal warm-ups. Let's see if I can just get all of these. Will these all play at the same time? No, they won't. Okay. So there's a lot of different ways this can look. This is some inchworms that they did. I would love to see them stand all the way up out of the inchworm. Some of this was some things they were already doing. Some of it was stuff that I started making them do weird things and have fun. But I'd like to see her go all the way up and stand actually, and then walk the hands back down and come back up. That's another way to do it, a couple different ways. And then they did duck walks, but then I said, hey, can you do your duck walks with your feet turned out, your feet turned in? So this is feet turned in, which was very hard for several of them. They were trying to figure it out, how to do it feet turned in, which was quite a struggle. But the struggle is good. It's in the struggle that their brain is making all these fun connections, which is really great. And then we had them do feet turned out, I think. This one's in. Yeah, so half of them are doing out. One of them's doing it in. I think maybe they got to pick. But, you know, it's just fun and also weird. And so what's creating is we're creating movement maps in their brain for how to do things weird. How can and they're exploring their map of me, and they're connecting movements together and getting that planning idea, trying to figure out how to do something. Even doing those things like, okay, you have to duck walk, but duck walk over and off of a mat, like a panel mat that's in front of you. So a couple different ways to do this is in warm up and stations throughout. You also do it as cool down. Some of the things I like the meerkats, press up, look around, or the side body wiggles, or army crawling, the 2-arm pushbacks. Those are really good ones you can do in warm up. Vault and floor, it's great to do their creeping on their hands and knees. It directly correlates to their running. And then for beam or pommels, doing the side wiggles, where they make the C shape we saw last time. Those are really good for that side body patterns that can help them with beam and pommels. Before we move on, any questions or thoughts about some of these things that we just talked about the motor patterns, motor planning, about kinesthesia? Any thoughts, you guys, to share today?
No thoughts.
Come on in, Latifa, or Carla, go ahead. Carla first, yeah, then Latifa.
My teenagers
Oh gosh, I
have
can't
a
hear
hard time with this.
me. Hold on one second. Carla, say it again. I had the volume down.
So my teenagers have a hard time with this. Just because I think, you know, being silly or yeah.
Yeah, about the judgment aspect, right? Like as a teenager. Yeah, part of it is just making it a game, and part of it's just making it part of what everybody does. So we're all being silly together, we're all figuring it out. One aspect I'm finding with teenagers is if they've been in a public school system structure, and just also the age and some of the lack of developmental experiences that they may not have had, is that problem solving can be a problem. And so this is actually can be challenging for them to problem solve how to do a weird movement. And so I found that when I try to give them freedom at first, they give me complete blank stares because they have nothing to work from. And so sometimes instead of giving them freedom, I will like I'll say I'll try to give them freedom first, and then I expect to see the blank stares. So then I say, try this or this. And sometimes I'll just give them two options, and I'll give them something weird. Like try walking with your feet turned in and do a duck walk, right? Or try with your feet out wide, or you pick, right? And so, or you pick something different. Show me something different. And usually the teenagers will pick one of the two I've demonstrated. And then the next round, I'll say this or that. And then by the third round, I'll say, how can you get across the floor? You know, so one of the activities I gave, which I didn't have in this video for that same group, was get across the floor, touching the floor 50% of the time. Like touching the floor with your, I think with your belly 50% of the time was what I said. And so they had to figure out how to keep their belly on the floor 50% of the time and get across the floor. And there were some interesting things. Like some of them did wiggle worm, like some of them did worm things. Some of them crawled, flattened, crawled, flattened. Some of them did like rolling. One of them like rolled down, like, and it was really interesting because they all came up with something different. And I was like, oh, this is great. But I have found, especially between the age of teenage judgment, but also being in the public school system, and also if they're on team, they may not have had a lot of experience with movement exploration, with the ability to try something weird that's out of the norm. And so you have to give them some options at first. And then once you give them options, then they can start to be creative. And again, you just explore it as like everybody's doing it. And that it is the funny parts that you're learning. So when they're laughing at each other, that's when they're trying to figure it out. And that's the best moment. So I just kind of tell them that, I'm like, when you're laughing at each other, that's great because that's when you're learning. And the fact that they're laughing also helps. You know, and it, you do it a few times and they get over the embarrassment of it. I hope that helps. Does that help, Carla? Couple options. And then Latifa, I saw you were gonna go.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, good. And then Latifa, I saw you wanted to go ahead and unmute. Go ahead and share what any of your thoughts. I'd love to hear.
I didn't have any thoughts for this one.
Oh, okay. All right. I just wanted to check in. All right. Well, we're gonna move on, and I just want to show you guys. So this is the last week for those of you who are watching online. I'm excited because you know, we have a couple of you guys who are joining our program already. We've got several gyms, lots of gyms actually joining for the Born to Move Waddler program. They're super excited. We're going to start our first live training October the 14th, so it's coming up next week. If you have not signed up, this week is your very last week to enroll. It won't be until next year that we run this, probably around the same time, but enrollment closes on Friday. So you want to click this link over here and you can access our enrollment page and get access to our Born to Move Waddler program, where we teach you how to use the 6 sensory motor building blocks. It's a done for you program. We teach you how to use the 6 sensory motor building blocks with the waddlers, which is age walking around 12 to 14 months to 24 months. It helps expand your membership base, adds value to your gym, offers a complete developmental pathway, and it can help increase your revenue at your gym, educate and empower parents while you grow a lasting relationship. Everything that's included in the program, it covers all 6 sensory motor building blocks, ensuring that you have a holistic neurodevelopmental approach. We give you done-for-you lesson plans. The lesson plans are all based on the 6 sensory motor building blocks, as well as the dance concepts by LeBon. We use the dance concepts to help implement the 6 sensory motor building blocks. It's all disguised in lots of fun, nursery rhymes, sensory motor activities, music, prop play, instrument stuff, lots of building of secure attachments with caregivers who are there. We also comes with some parent education. We help teach your staff how to educate the parents. Comes with the nursery rhymes, the music bundle, the props and equipment bundle. So everything that you need to run the program immediately following our live trainings. We have 6 live online trainings starting October the 14th through November the 18th, every Tuesday. And we also have some pre-recorded modules that were released yesterday. For those of you who've already signed up, please get started on your pre-recorded modules so that you can get your prerequisites done before we start in next week. All of our chapters that are pre-recorded, and also we take our live sessions with you and we'll also break them up. Every chapter is broken up into 5 to 10 minute segments or smaller so that it's chewable and fast. And for those who are gym owners, we have quizzes. One is for retention, but also for the gym owner to know that the staff that they've assigned these modules are getting done and they're passing their quizzes. And so we have 6 live trainings, which I require at least one person from the gym to be at, but we can have the whole entire gym if you want. We give you access for your entire gym, so you get franchise rights to train your entire staff. We'll create as many coaching portals as you want. You can train your staff over and over. Make sure everybody's on the same page with your program. And again, it's a done-for-you curriculum, comes with everything that you need to implement. We give you a certification at the end, Born to Move Level 2 waddlers, not babies. And it's accredited by our Perfect 10 PT Academy. We also give you a basic marketing kit, which includes a promotion video, 6 social media posts, and also a photography kit with 10 images that have already been approved and waivers signed and all of that for you to use for your own marketing. All of the marketing kits have our Born to Move logo on it, but also have a place for you to customize and put your own logo. And even you also get a trifold flyer and a single page flyer where you can customize your logo, your gym information, and can also change the colors for your branding. The program pays for itself in 6 months or less, as long as you get like 10 kids. That's all you need. We did the math. If you get 10 kids and 10 new kids into your program and you charge around $60 or less, $45 to $60 a month, then you will pay for your program altogether. What else am I missing? Yeah, it helps with a whole bunch of, all the neurodevelopmental stuff we've talked about. Creates early confidence and connection for social emotional intelligence, develops a fully sensory integration, help them fall in love with movement, music, and language, as well as at the same time, it's in the most impactful times in their life. We're doing developmentally appropriate activities in a way that helps them build the foundation for their life. So we're building better learners because if we move to learn, then we play to grow. That's the whole premise behind it. We want to move to learn, play to grow, and build the best learners that we can through amazing connections, neural connections, and activities. We've got several coaches who've really loved it. Chelsea at The Rock said every coach should go through the Born to Move program in order to help their students not hit unnecessary developmental and athletic roadblocks. And then we have Olivia at Mini Hops. She's a preschool director. She says Born to Move is the preschool training our gym had been missing. It combines brain body development with real tools our staff can use songs, props, videos, and more. It's easy to implement and incredibly effective. If you run a preschool gymnastics program, you need this. And then we have Sue at Olympiad. She said, Born to Move completely changed how I approach baby classes in our gym. It gave me the tools, lesson plans, and confidence to safely and effectively teach our youngest age group. Plus, music, equipment, and marketing materials were all included. Parents and my staff love it. Babies thrive, and we've expanded our program in a way I never thought possible. This training is a game changer. And then we have Alice, who was one of our parents who took one of our classes, and she said after taking the first session of Brandy's Born to Move babies class, we did some of Brandy's techniques, and my daughter crawled for the very first time, and I couldn't believe it after just one session. Parents have been saying that their kids' behaviors are improving, they're more emotionally regulated, they're saying that they're reaching milestones that they didn't see them reaching before or they were struggling with. And they're also talking about how their connection with their child has really grown, and that they are so excited for the next program. So we've been running these programs. Each cycle, I'm running programs here live with kids and parents and caregivers, and we're having a blast, which is a lot of fun. The Wadlers are a lot of fun right now. So again, last chance, enrollment closes on Friday. Be the change in your community and impact more children in your community by joining our Born to Move program. We'll be rolling these out. We've already done our first baby class in June last year. We're doing the Wadlers. Come February, March, we should have our toddler program. And then by April, May, we'll have our preschool program. And then we'll start back up with our baby program. So we can only run these once a year. So now's the time to hop in, last chance, get in by Friday. It'll be super fun. I'm excited. I can't wait to start with you guys next week. And then to wrap us up, got one more announcement about next week's blueprint. Looking at the schedule really quick because I want to make sure I quote it properly. There we are. Okay, so I got something new for you. We're going to be moving on past the 6 sensory motor building blocks here in the blueprint, while us at the Born to Move program will be diving in and going deeper into gross motor development, 6 sensory motor building blocks, and all of the curriculum. That's going to be a lot of fun this next week for those of you that join us. But next week for our free blueprint for peak performance, we have Elaine Toussey coming back. Several of you guys were in and asked her to come back to do more on periodization. So Elaine is a former gymnast and she's a current world champion weightlifter, Olympic weightlifting. And she does what I do. So she and I worked together a long time ago when she was a student. She does what I do with gymnasts, with weight athletes, with weights, heavy weights, teaching how to move weight, right? And so it was requested that she comes in and talk about training periodization. So Elaine is going to be coming in next Wednesday on the 15th. We're going to talk about periodization of strength training for athletes of all ages. So don't miss that. You do have to register. And there will be a new link. So from now moving forward, we have a link changed. So next week, you will need to register on a new link. We will send out the emails today, not today, maybe today or tomorrow, but we'll send out emails with the new link, the new registration link for this webinar. It'll be the same link from now on, but we're switching over to a different link, a different Zoom link. It'll still be on Zoom, but you need to register on the new link. It'll be in your email when we send out the follow-up emails, and it will be on my profile in Instagram and also on Facebook. All the new material that we send out, the new emails that are coming up for next week's webinar with the post and about Elaine and I, all of that will have a new link. So be sure to save that link. That'll be the new link to register every week. So it is changing. And then after that, it'll stay the same. So we will see you guys next week for training periodization for athletes of all ages with Elaine. And thank you guys so much for joining for the 6 sensory motor building blocks. And have an amazing rest of y'all's week. Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.